And hello and good morning. We are live on Boles TV, BOLES.TV. I'm David Boles. Welcome to this live stream. I'm here with you daily, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. if, in fact, we are lucky and alive and brave. Well, hey, what's going on with the red glasses there, Big Dave? Well, I'm going to tell you. I can't see anything. But does it matter when you're trying to be part of a group? When you're trying to join the gang? When you want to be one of many? And we have the air conditioning on now, so if the air conditioners are popping on and you hear clicking and you hear meh, it's the air conditioning. Now, we have also sound suppression. So you're not supposed to hear that the air conditioner just went on. But if you're hearing it and it's bothering you, hey, you're not alone, because I hear it as well. So the Red Glasses Club started officially on Saturday during Jen Marie's stream. And her friend in Iowa, Kathy, has red glasses like this, reading glasses. And she posts a lot on Facebook, showing and celebrating her red glasses. Well, the beautiful Jen Marie also just happens to have exactly the same red glasses. And she didn't say anything, but then she said, hey, I'm making my big return to my live stream on Saturday. I'm going to wear my red glasses. And Kathy G showed up, and so did other friends who have seen the Kathy G red glasses look. There was a little bit of tension and a little bit of cursing. As it was discovered that two people at the same time could have the same red-colored glasses. Have you not seen the multiverse? So on our Discord server, we have a little competition going on between who wears the red glasses better. The young Ellie is threatening to get her own version of red glasses. It's turning into a big mess. And I'm not sure how it's going to end. It might end in people wearing clear glasses or black plastic glasses. Or we all just might compromise and just all wear exactly the same red glasses. I can't see anything. I can't read anything. I'm just here talking to myself in a dark room. But I'm part of the gang. So we're going to see how all of this plays out, because right now it's playing out really filthily on our Discord server and in our live stream. The red glasses controversy did carry over into the Sunday show. I'll tell you that right now. And now it's carrying over into this show because I wisened up and said, hey, I got to get on the action. I can't be left out of the red glasses game. And so here I am, trying to get along, trying to fit in, trying to be unnoticed, fly on the wall with my bright red glasses. And when I think of red glasses, I think of Sally Jesse Raphael. Do we even remember her from 20, 30 years ago? Had her own show. And her whole thing, her icon, her logo was red glasses that she wore, and when she wasn't on television, they had red plastic glasses as her icon. A little strange. But I think I've had enough of this, so I'm taking off my red glasses, momentarily setting them aside in case I need to, prove my street worth in this ongoing gang war between the red glasses carriers and those who want to be. It really just comes down to that. So it's hot and sticky. Now people are finally realizing that, especially in the New York City area, you cannot believe anything anybody tells you about the weather if they're on television. Because their job is to scare you and make you make noise and think that you're going to have tornado and everything's going to be ruined the next day. And then you wake up and everything's fine, nothing happened. And then you start thinking back, well, remember when they said we're going to have a big snowstorm? Do you remember when they said we're all going to shrivel up and die in the heat? Do you remember that? It never happens. I mean, maybe 0.01 time when something terrible is going to happen in the weather that it actually happens. But that doesn't mean they're not going to rile you up. That doesn't mean the tornado's coming, get your red glasses and put them on so you can see them. But that's what they did for 2 days. Oh my goodness! You're going to be blown away. You can't go in the streets. 60-mile-per-hour winds are coming. You're going to be knocked over. You can't stand up anymore. Hey, Kivyuku 1 is now following us. Thank you so much for being here. Delighted to have you. We hope you have something fun to say. Uh-oh, you love riddles. That is one strong wind there. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Wind in what way? There's been no farting going on yet in the live stream. Oh, 60 miles per hour. Doink. I thought you were talking about the air conditioner. 60 miles per hour is a lot of wind. But it didn't happen. All these threats. We're going to knock you over. Can't go outside. Not going to have television. Not going to be able to do your live stream tomorrow because all of the East Coast is going to be wiped out by these high winds and tornadoes. Marine alerts. We get marine alerts from New York State. Small craft advisory. Get off the water. It's coming. And I know you have to be better safe than sorry, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It sounds bad, but it didn't happen. So everything's fine. We're all good. Now, I do have a riddle that I'm going to share with you right now, and I wish I could wear my red glasses to tell you the riddle, because I would look more obnoxious in my red glasses, and probably more threatening, because I would be playing the role of the Riddler from Batman. However, it's a long riddle, and I have it written down. And I would not be able to see the riddle, because those are not my prescription for glasses. I know. It's hard to be part of a fighting gang when you can't see. Excuse me, I'm being hotboxed by my neighbor, 9 o'clock, every day. So here we go with the riddle. If you dare. See this. What is a word made up of 4 letters, yet is also made up of 3? Sometimes is written with 9 letters and then with 4. Rarely consists of 6 and never is written with 5. What am I? Batman. You know the answer to the riddle, put it in chat. Maybe you win a prize. And I should read it again, but I can't because I can't see. I have my glasses on. Glasses that are not my prescription. But I like having the air conditioning on. It makes a big difference. I love a fan. You can't beat a fan. But sometimes when the humidity is high and the tornadoes are threatening to rage, the monster in the other room comes in with her red glasses on and says, put on the air conditioning if you know what's good for you. And so I did. And it's still on. Is it a walking clock? That is not the right answer. That's the answer to another riddle. Very good. You're trying to put it all together, which I really appreciate. It can be difficult in these trying times of trying to figure out how and why things work. We will keep the riddle question open. And we might repeat it after the next break, just to give other people a chance to play and try to figure out the riddle. You know that monkey clapping the plates together? That's my brain at the moment. Well, that's fun. Everybody loves a clapping monkey. And now you've seamlessly led me into my next topic, which is this. It's time to stand like a superhero. Or a clapping monkey. Either one is fine. If you stand like Superman or Wonder Woman, now they could have just said superhero, right? But no, they have to be inclusive, mention the genders, don't play favorites. Would you feel stronger? Dominant or upright postures can help people feel and maybe even behave more confidently. I should be standing and not sitting to read this. A new analysis by the Martin Luther University Halle-Wittenberg, MLU, the University of Hamburg, and the Ohio State University has confirmed what small studies already suggested. The team evaluated data from around 130 experiments with a total of 10,000 participants. Results also disprove the controversial claim that certain poses influence a person's hormone levels. Oh, this chat now thing is part of the page I'm reading. I'm thinking, who is putting up chat now? Oh, it's the page I'm looking at. This thing right here. I don't know who I could chat with, but it's nice to know. Posture and body language are popular tools in psychology. In therapy, they can help people feel secure and experience positive feelings. The research of power posing deals the extent to which very bold poses can influence a person's feelings and self-worth. One common example is the victory pose with outstretched arms, which, according to several studies, is meant to increase self-confidence. However, many of these studies are inconclusive and were conducted with small samples. Paging Elon Musk. Moreover, studies sometimes have contradictory results. Therefore, the team conducted a meta-analytic quantitative review in which they combined the data of around 130 experiments, published and unpublished studies. Complex statistical methods were used to reassess the data on nearly 10,000 people. Not Soylent Green people, just regular people. The researchers want to find out whether posture influences a person's self-perception, behavior, and hormone levels. The team found a connection between an upright posture and power posing and a more positive self-perception. A dominant pose can, for example, make you feel more self-confident. The team found a similar correlation with behavior. For example, task persistence and antisocial behavior, but these effects were less robust. On the other hand, the assertion that certain poses can boost the production of psychological effects, for example, hormones, such as testosterone and cortisol, which had been claimed in previous research, was not supported. Findings on the physiological effects of power posing are not robust and have been replicated by independent research groups. So there you have it. If you're going into work, going into a meeting, put your fists on your hips, stand up tall. I'm here for the meeting, Earthlings. Now, how well would that go over? You fly into a meeting room, posing like Wonder Woman. I'm here for the meeting! They would probably throw you out of the room. But when I was growing up, that was always called, hey, straighten up, sit up straight, straighten up, fly right. That's the phrase. Just don't sit there, don't slump over, you slump. Posture is very important. They teach that to you in the military and in some sports activities. Be proud. Stand up tall. Have good posture. Be a superhero. Okay. I will try. And now we land into the realm of the sad and the unfortunate. But in order to get there, we have to do a little bit of a review. And this is really very interesting from factcheck.org. And the posts. Oh my goodness, there's Gordon. My mother always encouraged me to straighten my back so I wouldn't end up slouched over as one might sometimes see. Very true. There was a wonderful, interesting female that I grew up with in my neighborhood. Went to high school, smart, intelligent, everything. And everything she did was like this, slumped over. She didn't have, one girl had scoliosis and she had to wear a back brace for about 3 years. Not this one. This one, she was athletic, she played basketball, so all kinds of sports, came up from a sports family. And everything she did was this. Her shoulders slumped. Such a bad look. And she'd walk around slump-shouldered everywhere. Hey, throw the ball. Okay, I throw the ball. And she was very good. Imagine how much better she could have been if she put her shoulders back a little bit. It's very important. Now, Gordon, I don't know if you're in our riddle contest or not, but you do have competition. We have a new friend here who has shown up and is a master at riddles. So, Commissioner Gordon, the gauntlet has been thrown down. Not by me, but by our new friend. Give you a Cocoa one. So, it seems like we have this problem with posts misattribute the phrase domestic supply of infants in a draft on abortion. Now, it was quoted, that phrase, by Amy Coney Barrett during her nomination process for the Supreme Court. Sam Alito also quoted it, but it seems like it has a very interesting, strange history. And it seems to come from a CDC report during the Trump administration. The CDC report examined the prevalence and demand for adoption in the U.S. using data from a 2002 survey. The portion quoted in the footnote to Alito's opinion said, emphasis ours, nearly 1 million women were seeking to adopt children in 2002. For example, they were in demand for a child, whereas the domestic supply of infants relinquished at birth, or within the first month of life and available to be adopted, had become virtually non-existent. In the CDC report, that sentence appeared in the conclusion. Earlier, the report had explained that the adoption of infants by people unrelated to them serves two purposes. It provides the child with a home and provides the couple or individual with a child. The number of those adoptions, as opposed to adoptions within a family, for example, when a step-parent adopts a stepchild, is a matter of supply and demand, the report said, explaining it is governed by the number of children available for adoption and the number of individuals and couples seeking to adopt. So that's the background of the domestic supply of infants, which now leads us in an interesting, terrible way. That Rolling Stone has picked up the latest from Pete Ricketts. Now, I've learned that my friends in Nebraska don't call him Ricketts. Even though rickets is sort of a disease, they call him Pricketts, which is kind of funny. And they say in certain ways when he stands that he looks like a D-head. And he kind of does. And he has that personality. It just goes for you. You just look at him. It just makes your skin crawl. And yet he was elected. So the governor of the great state of Nebraska, the good life, that's what the slogan used to be. Then they changed it to, well, it's not for everyone. Rape victims should be forced to have rapist baby, GOP governor openly states. So that means there are some young children, 9 years old, who are female and have their periods at 9 years old. And some creep down the block does something terrible to them, and the child becomes pregnant at 9 and is now, under Governor Pete Ricketts, forced to have that baby at age 10. And there's a move afoot for parental rights from the rapist. So if you can imagine that. They rape a child, the child is forced to have the baby, and the rapist, wherever he is, gets to visit the baby once a month for the next 19 years. If Roe v. Wade is overturned by the Supreme Court, Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts wants to ban abortion in his state and wants the ban to apply to all victims of rape. Dana Bash, do you think the state of Nebraska should require a young girl who was raped to carry that pregnancy to term? Governor Pete, those are babies too. Babies having babies. Bash, including the case of rape or incest. Yes, they're still babies. Like he believes that. Some rich mother-father from Chicago coming in there and telling you what babies have to do. Bash then asked the governor if he would call a special session of the Nebraska legislature to impose an abortion ban following a Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe. That would certainly be my intention, said Governor Ricketts. So this is going on and on and on in the Midwest, and you just wonder what's really at play here. What's really going on? And then you go to this Nebraska Heart Gallery page, and you think, oh my gosh, look at this. A heart gallery. These are all the children on the waiting list to get a heart transplant in the state of Nebraska. Well, isn't that interesting? You put up a website so you get to know them and how they're real people and they're in need. And then you click on this about the Nebraska Heart Gallery. Okay, I'll click on it. It's Senator Pete Ricketts, Governor Pete Ricketts, soon to be senator. Hey, your state, right? Oh, now wait a minute. What's this about? This isn't about heart transplants. And it's not clicking. Oh, and then you read. These aren't children who need heart transplants. These are children want to be adopted in the state of Nebraska. This is the domestic supply of non-infants. And you wonder, how does this page go along with children need to have the babies if they are raped or impregnated by their fathers or by another family member? And it makes you wonder. All these kids are looking for a home. I thought that's the argument. Oh, no baby will go unwanted. Not in this America. And you read about these kids, and they're a little older, and 16 years old. Domestic supply of 16-year-olds. Katie is determined to find a forever family and achieve permanency. She wants nothing more than a loving, stable family to call her own. So why aren't the great people of the state of Nebraska running to adopt these children that everyone wants? Why aren't they stepping forward? We know why, because they're hypocrites and they don't mean what they say. And this popped up. This morning I saw this from Jezebel. Republicans are the real eugenicists. And boy, this is a hard-hitting article. And a fantastic article relating abortion and the whole we will not be replaced thing with eugenics. And the conservatives say, oh, no, we're protecting babies. We want all babies to survive, all babies to live. There's no such thing as a disabled baby. There's no such thing as an unwanted baby, even though we just saw a whole page of unwanted babies. Because all of those kids on that Nebraska Heart page were part of the domestic supply of infants. And nobody wanted them. And we don't know why. But we know why they're there, because they've not been adopted. And now this whole baby formula thing. Oh, even though it's the law, we can't go down to the border and give brown babies infant formula intended for white children in America. Well, what are you going to do? It's not a law that we have to provide infant formula to white babies in the Midwest, but it is a law that for immigrants and people crossing the border, we have to provide for them. I'll just break the law. And they rely on people not to know, and people to be dumb, and people who are just looking to be outraged. And then, on Saturday, the white supremacist goes to Buffalo and shoots it up. The shooter allegedly published a 188-page document that repeatedly cited the racist Great Replacement theory. The false notion that normal demographic change is actually due to a grand conspiracy to replace white people with non-white people. And Gordon says, crazy that all lives matter folk are saying only some people deserve formula. Now that is an interesting point, and you're making me think of something that I want to talk about. But we're going to take a break, because otherwise I'm going to get hit with an ad break. Back in a minute. And we're back from break. This is Boles TV, BOLES.TV. I'm David Boles, and we are here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States of America. Well, our new friend Kivikuku1 has disappeared. Obviously gave up on the riddle that we started the show with, so I'll do the riddle again. New people. All new people every 100 years. All new people every 30 minutes. And I wish I could wear my red glasses because it'd be much more dramatic. Riddle me this, Batman. What is a word made up of 4 letters, yet is also made up of 3? Sometimes is written with 9 letters and then with 4. Rarely consists of 6 and is never written with 5. What am I? Thank you very much. If you know the answer, put it in chat. Now, our friend Gordon mentioned a trigger word for me, a trigger phrase. All lives matter. And I've discussed this before, and I'm going to discuss it again until the day I die. Black Lives Matter was born out of the murder of George Floyd, a black man killed in the guise of being under police custody. And so the right-wingers say, oh, no. Black lives, no. All lives matter. Thinking that they have some kind of moral high ground. And this next conversation is not going to reach any of them, but perhaps more reasonable people who've heard, oh, Black lives matter, all lives matter, and they think, oh, well, I guess, yeah, all lives do matter, okay. That's not the point of it. So this is how it was explained to me, and I will share it with you. Did my light went out. That's weird. Is that out? Oh, it's out. That's not good. Let me see if I can turn it back on. My underarm light went off. It's been misbehaving lately. I don't know if I can get it back on or not. Oh, it's not even there. I'm going to have to reset it. Okay, we'll do that later. Well, it's even more sexy over here. Oh, and this light's out too. Oh, now it's back on. Technology. Black lives matter, all lives matter. So let's say in this scenario that my mother died. I'm so sad, I'm devastated, my mother died. And friends and family around me and national political leaders and television people would say, oh, no. All mothers matter. And I would say, yeah, I understand that. All mothers matter, but I'm talking about my specific mother dying, and I'm upset about it, and I love her a lot, and I miss her, and I'm devastated at the loss. No. Not your mother. All mothers matter. And when you think of it that way, Black Lives Matter, I'm destroyed that the police are killing some people that we love. No. Not black. No. Not you. No. All lives. All lives matter. All mothers matter. So just flip that out. When you hear that phrase, all lives matter, with all mothers matter, as someone who should be trying to comfort someone who lost their mother. The specific versus the convenient general. It's disgusting. Hey, speaking of disgusting, we'll finish this conversation about this great white replacement theory. And this is still from Jezebel. Several hundred women and pregnant people die in the United States every year from pregnancy and childbirth, and more than 50,000 come close to dying due to systemic racism. Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely than white women to die from pregnancy. When dozens of states ban abortion, more women and pregnant people will die. and the racial health disparities will worsen. Serena Williams, when she had her baby. And, hey, let's be frank, she married a white rich guy, had a baby with him, both rich, famous, brilliant people, white man, black woman. And he was not with her, I believe, when she was in the hospital giving birth, for whatever reason. And she knew her body, and she knew how she was reacting, and she was in dire danger. I don't know if this was before or after the pregnancy, but she was in the hospital. And she had to get out of her bed and go down the hall screaming for help. And she said, I know they weren't listening to me because I am a black woman. I have money, I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm strong, I'm powerful. But because I'm a black woman, they don't listen to me. That was really alarming. Had authorities successfully prosecuted Herrera, her case would have advanced both the anti-abortion movement and the white natalist movement. Such imprisonment would potentially discourage women of all races from seeking medicated, assisted abortion to circumvent the Heartbeat Act. But it would have also put a brown woman behind bars, potentially for the rest of the reproductive period of her life. A successful murder prosecution wouldn't have restored Herrera's lost fetus, but it would most certainly have prevented her from bringing children to term at any time in the near future. And just today, in Jezebel, they wrote an article about why it's no longer surprising to learn that many Republicans who are pro-life are also pro-death penalty. And it's because of racism. Black people make up between 12 to 14% of the U.S. population, and 40% of the people on death row. They are black. So if you can't kill them at birth, you can kill them later. Put them on death row. Restrict health care, prevent paid family leave, ban abortions, over-police black and brown people, lock them up and throw away the key, or worse. Don't ever let a conservative tell you that abortion is eugenics ever again. And then, the great thing, are comments on the article. And this is why I feel like I wrote this one myself. I've been saying it for years. Republicans are evil but effective. Democrats represent the parable of the good man doing nothing. Absolutely right. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Oh, we can't get mad at them because we're better people. When they go low, we go high. Please be quiet. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. When they go low, you go lower. They, Republicans, get in power, stall the country's ultimately decline. The Democrats get in power, stall the company's ultimately decline into madness, and then they get voted out for barely doing enough, which is true. Democrats have been in power, they don't do anything. Then the Republicans take over. They further their evil agenda at a horrifyingly quick pace and are voted out because now the public knows. Oh, now we figured out who they are. But they'll conveniently forget again. Sarcasm off. And the process repeats over and over and over. We have now been taking one step forward and 1,000 steps back for several decades now. I didn't write it, but it sounds like I did. The GOP spent literally decades embedding their members into every level of government. The Democrats and other left or left-leaning people are hung up on either appearing to be above the fray and trying to get mansion-like people corralled by demanding purity. That's what the Republicans do. They do it so well despite being in the minority. They recruit and mentor the younger generation. Democrats have Pelosi in her 80s and Feinstein in her 80s, and they not only refuse to retire, but refuse to even consider young Democrats. They refuse to look at younger Dems like AOC. They view her with suspicion and derision instead of understanding that the party needs to adapt. It's absolutely true. Right on target. Well, many years ago, I had a blog that was dedicated to panopticonicism and also carceral nation. And panopticon is always being watched. Jail term. And carceral means incarcerated is where it comes from. An interesting article in the New York Times about this young artist who views Los Angeles and its history of architecture as being little places of imprisonment. It's very interesting. Carceral architecture is everywhere in Los Angeles. What could the city look like without it? Now that's the interesting question. And there's the artist. And this is sort of like an interview. Diaries of a Terrorist was 10 years in the making, and before that you published a chapbook of poetry. How does your first artistic idols, how did they influence you? And he goes on to talk about that. And how we would recruit people and perform and get all that going. Now I want to get into the carceral part because that's the real interesting thing. Here we go. You grew up in California during one of the most dramatic expansions of the carceral system, the prison system. How did that affect you? And this is where it gets really interesting. Whenever I visit my abuela, my grandmother's grave at the San Fernando Mission, I think about how the first instance of human caging occurred in the region where Spanish priests locked unmarried Tongva women and girls in dormitories at night in the 1780s. I drive along downtown's streets and wonder which ones were made by chain gangs in the 1880s. I go to see art with friends in Little Tokyo and wonder about what the neighborhood must have felt like when emptied of its residents, as Japanese Americans were forced into internment camps in the 1940s. I see military equipment deployed against unarmed civilians at protests. And I remember that the first SWAT unit was created in Los Angeles in response to the Watts uprising in 1965. So there you go, putting it all together. And he writes about kids who were in prison. And he responds, around 2011, I was living in Long Beach and teaching poetry to incarcerated youth at the Los Padrinos Juvenile Detention Center in Downey. One teenage girl who was incarcerated there told me that her mom would bring home abusive men. She said that the courts did not believe her story. This teenage girl told me that as soon as she was released from Los Padrinos, she would try to get sent back. As we were sitting at a stainless steel table preparing to write a poem together, this teenage girl said that it was safer for her to be incarcerated than to return to her mother's home. When I think about the young people who are incarcerated at Los Padrinos, it all changes the binary thinking of innocence versus criminality. The prison is not a place that protects survivors from perpetrators of violence. The prison is a place that is filled with survivors whose trauma is exacerbated by the carceral state and whose needs are continuously ignored. When thinking about youth in Los Padrinos, I am reminded that incarceration itself is an experience of chronic violence. And then they keep going. That's powerful enough. But then he says, hey, you work at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. Gorgeous, in Westwood, beautiful campus. Rich people go there, and it's part of a rich community. What is the relationship between the university and policing? Whew. And here we go. UCLA finances have long been tied to prisons and policing. From 2015 to 2020, UCLA paid $339,000 to Westlaw and $250,000 to LexisNexis. And those are databases where you can go in and read about the law and law cases and research things and even research some people. Well, those companies provide ICE with data needed to conduct raids and deportations. Then there is the geography of the university that extends from the main UCLA campus itself into the community of Westwood, which is also surveilled and harassed by UCPD, University of California Police Department. And the university has satellite facilities too, such as Jackie Robinson Stadium, which was used as a field jail during the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020. It has facilities such as Harbor UCLA Hospital in Torrance, where a patient was shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy. If we are thinking more in terms of knowledge and production, then I think many departments of the university can be tied to perpetuating carceral logic. One example is the fact that Jeffrey Brantingham is employed by the anthropology department at UCLA. He is also the co-founder of the for-profit company PredPol, an acronym for predictive policing, which uses historical crime data known to be deeply racially biased to try to predict future crimes. Ooh, have we had a movie about that? The Minority Report is alive and well in PredPol at UCLA. Now, brief break. Back in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, standing up straight. Superhero postures. I'm choosing the Wonder Woman posture today because I am all-encompassing and I don't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm Superman or Wonder Woman. It doesn't matter. I don't matter because we're all superhumans. Straighten up, fly right. Stand at attention, young man. Never be at ease. So we're having an interesting conversation today about pathways and carbuncles and things that make sense and things that never make sense. And yet here we are, people in power, very proud to be repressing other people and getting rid of them and putting them in their place. And as part of that warning against where we're going, showing up in Nevada today, which is a very interesting article from the University of Nevada. And the title is Linguistic Game Theoretic Approach Detects and Explains Online Propaganda. Now this could be very helpful. Trying to sort through the Twitter trolls. Discord bots trying to get in, and we have bots here right now. And I had a whole bunch of bots banned on this Twitch stream. And then I'm, reading other examples and other experiences of people on Twitch. And they say, look, bots are a way of life. Bots are terrible. However, if they aren't trying to get into your chat and post nasty things, there are such things as well-behaved bots on Twitch. So just don't, if you find out they're a bot, because there are bot lists, if you find out it's a bot and not a person, that doesn't mean you should get rid of them. Because some of these bots are doing research, they're preserving data on your stream. Some of these bots, even though they're unidentified, are actually put there by Twitch to give them insight and analytics into your stream. So if they're not bothering you, why are you saying the bots are bothering you when they're not bothering you? They're just sitting there watching. So I unbanned a lot of Twitch bots. So if you see more bots hanging out and not saying anything, they're not saying anything because they're not going to say anything, which is fine. And we're still getting raided on our Discord server, which makes me sort of proud and sort of disgusted. Proud in that, hey, they think we're something that deserves to be rated. The Red Glasses Brigade is going strong in Jan's area. And it also is like, because I have these strict requirements in place for bot raids, it makes like a first-time user of Discord, if you've never been on Discord before, and you're joining to join our server, you really can't join our server until 1 full day has passed. Because that's like the minimum. I would like it to be 3 days, but nobody's going to wait 3 days for anything. People are not going to wait 1 day, so they're going to email me, and I'm going to say, okay, I'll turn off the bot for 5 minutes, go register, and then I'll turn the bot back on. That part of the bot. So it's sort of disappointing, but that's the way it goes. And once you get people in, they're verified, then everything goes. Everything's a free-for-all, and we have a lot of fun. So according to new research from the University of Nevada, Reno, online propaganda is a growing threat to our domestic home security in the homeland. Democratic institutions and public health are also a threat. The two most recent notable examples are the election fraud misinformation that led to the 2021 insurrection at the Capitol, and the anti-vax propaganda, which continues to undermine scientific efforts to turn the tide of COVID-19. Good. This is what a university should be studying. And maybe they even have bots out there listening and gathering information about this online propaganda. In a paper recently published in Expert Systems with Applications, Arash Bafar, assistant professor of information systems in the university's College of Business, developed and tested a model for the automatic detection and explanation of propagandistic content on the internet. He constructed a dataset containing nearly 205,000 articles from 39 propagandist and 30 trustworthy news sources, and computed 92 linguistic features for each article. He then built predictive models that detect online propaganda. Love it! No place to hide. In addition to its superior predictive performance, the final predictive model outran the baseline models, which is especially important for timely detection of computational propaganda that exploits bots and algorithms for audience targeting. It only takes a few seconds on a desktop computer to build the propaganda detection model for 205,000 news articles, each with nearly 100 linguistic features. The real-time graphical explanation of the propaganda score could be in part enhance user trust in judgments and make all the models accepted at large. The applications of the proposed model add to the technological developments in countering propaganda in today's American cyberspace. For instance, the model can examine text for propaganda content, which helps find social media accounts contaminating the internet with propaganda from unknown sources. In addition, the linguistic game theoretic approach in this study can also be applied to detecting and explaining anti-vax propaganda. So once you know where it's coming from, you can, if you want to, just go and shut it down. Say, this is not a person. This is perhaps a bot who is spreading wrongful, hurtful information, and we don't want it on our system. But are these places smart enough to do that? That's the question. And speaking of being shut up, interesting article about a Glendale third grade teacher in California who showed a gay pride video and got in some trouble. A Glendale third grade teacher who nearly a year ago showed videos celebrating gay pride to her students has been involuntarily transferred from her classroom for safety reasons after receiving threats. A local chapter in the nation's furious debate over what should and should not be taught in schools about gender identity. The conflict in the Glendale Unified School District, a suburban LA county of about 25,000 students, centers on 4 short videos the teacher prepared to show her class. 3 of the videos explain gay pride with songs and animation. One features a song called Love is Love, with the message that parents and families come in many configurations, and what matters most is the love between a guardian and a child. Another, Queer Kids Stuff, a cheerful young narrator celebrates pride. The video that spurred the most objection, and the one that some parents said crossed the line of age appropriateness, is Talking to Kids About Pride Month. It shows an enthusiastic roundtable discussion with the young children led by a Canadian TV personality, Jesse Cruikshank. In the nearly 3-minute video, Cruikshank uses the term sexual diversity and coming out of the closet and notes that, as a youth, her admiration for actress Jodie Foster made her question her own sexuality, especially after seeing Foster naked in a film, which she said she watched several times. The children joyfully explain the possible advantages of having 2 parents of the same gender or becoming a gay icon. In support of such instruction, the state's history social science curriculum framework says that gender nonconforming students have unfairly suffered emotionally and academically for being different, and that all students have the fundamental right to be respected and to feel safe, regardless of sexual orientation or gender expression. The Glendale conflict is unfolding as teaching about gender identity in public schools has joined other politically fraught, divisive debates, including critical race theory, emotional learning, and vaccine mandates for COVID-19. So what are you going to do? This is the world in which you now live. You have all kinds of people, and people want explanations and insight. And what's wrong with that? Well, speaking of censorship and not wanting to hear something, China doesn't want to hear about you or about what you think about what you want to know. China wants you out. Amid a rising trend of curbs on rights in China, the country is intensifying its censorship of Hollywood movies to make them conform to the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP ideals, a media report says. The practice, which is almost 25 years old, has expanded in recent times, even as producers make movies with an eye toward pleasing Beijing, yet without isolating the global audience. Now it's kind of escalated in the sense that they're much more direct in banning films outright, rather than just tampering or asking for scenes to be removed. Says Stanley Rosen, a University of Southern California political science professor who follows China's film industry. It is unlikely that censors will allow the 2022 Marvel Studios movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness to be shown in China. Citing a recent op-ed in the Chinese state-affiliated Global Times, which said that the movie contains nods to Falun Gong, a spiritual movement Beijing has banned and labeled as a cult. As a country under the rule of law, China regulates the film industry in accordance with the Film Administration regularities. The 2021 superhero film, Spider-Man: No Way Home, missed Chinese approval because authorities wanted Sony Pictures to remove images of the Statue of Liberty from the movie. That's the whole end of the movie. They're fighting. Have them fight at the Washington Memorial instead. No, not there either. The Kennedy Center. No, not him. As the dragon gets bigger, China, its leverage gets bigger, and no one's pushed back yet, says Chris Fenton, Hollywood executive and lifetime member of the Council on Foreign Relations think tank. According to James Tager, a research director at the free speech advocacy group PEN America, an increase in Sino-U.S. tensions since the administration of former U.S. President Donald Trump may have exacerbated China's treatment of American movies. However, recently in the Philippines, they pushed back against Marvel Studios' attempt to woo China. In the case of 2022 American action movie The Uncharted, the Southeast Asian country's cinema banned the movie at the request of the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs. The department objected to a scene that showed Beijing's 9-dash line claim to the South China Sea, which Manila vigorously disputes. The 9 dashes demarcate China's claim to about 90% of the sea. Manila also moved earlier to block the showing of Abominable, a 2019 animated collaboration between the US and a Chinese production company, because the same 9-dash line was shown in the cartoon. Hollywood is slowly factoring in the arbitrary demands from China. One thing it has learned is to avoid making Chinese-themed films such as Shang-Chi, because those can be better done in China. However, censorship doesn't just start and stop in China. Oh no. It's live here in the United States de Americana. New York gallerists say the landlord shut down their space to censor an exhibition. Sunday marked the fourth day that artist Peter Clough's new solo show at the Hall Gallery in Brooklyn was open to the public, and possibly the last. A powerful and engrossing exhibition of new videos filmed during a residency in space, an unfinished basement beneath a beauty salon accessed from the sidewalk via a steep staircase, continues Clough's exploration of power, submission, architecture, and embodiment. Its centerpiece is a 14-minute video calmly, hypnotically narrated by Clough, in which he appears completely naked, save for a few accessories, including a leather hood, and confined in a dog cage. Given that content, gallery co-directors Aaron Davis and Max Lee had posted a content warning on the sign at the gallery's entrance. But that may be what ultimately drew the attention of a man claiming to be a representative of the building's owner, who visited the space on Sunday. I was told they sent photos of our warning signs, warning viewers that there is sexual content. Sent it to the landlord, and the landlord is upset. Next thing I know, there's a different guy and about 7 fire department officials entering the basement and citing fire code violations. Which is probably very true. They're very strict in New York about fire code, especially if you're in a performance space and there are not enough exits or there are too many people. They will and can shut you down. It's a clever way to shut something down. But if you're non-compliant, it's hard to argue against it. He continues, I explained, we can address those, and the representative of the landlord was like, you're trespassing, and I'm calling the police. This alleged act of censorship by a landlord operating through intimidation is complicated by the gallery's rental arrangement, the building's owner's anonymity, and the lack of protections for commercial tenants in New York City. The building in downtown Brooklyn, where the gallery is located, is owned by the Livingston Street Realty Associates, an entity registered as a limited partnership that thereby has minimal public reporting requirements and is very difficult to trace back to any specific individual. The company is currently suing 3 of its tenants in the building for at least $192,000 in unpaid rent, much which is accumulated since the onset of the pandemic. The basement cannot be used for commercial use, and it violates certificate of occupancy. He provided a copy of the fire department summons from the visit in May addressed to the business owner who said about the basement. Immediately cease any commercial use of the basement. I know people want to put on a show. Hey, let's put on a show. We'll go to the park. We'll do a show. But in New York, you're going to have problems. They should have checked that out. Oh, but it's censorship. Okay, maybe it is. But if you can't be there in the first place, you really can't get too upset when they kick you out. We were told to our faces that this shutdown is happening because of the content of our show. And it was made clear to us that the landlord is not interested in negotiating with us or us staying there at all, so we're moving forward. The gallery's very identity was formed, in a sense, by a previous legal dispute. In 2019, the gallery, then known as the U-Haul Gallery, changed its name to Hall Gallery after the truck rental company U-Haul threatened legal action. Well, there you go. You can't be in a basement if you can't be in a basement, and you can't call yourself the U-Haul Theater Company if it's based on somebody else's trademark. And I'm reminded of this big controversy, and it's not even a controversy, of this person on Reddit whose username is Instagram. And this person says, I've had that name for 10 years, and it has nothing to do with Instagram. I don't even have an Instagram account. And Reddit says, we're taking back the username. Now, you can make your own username, and we'll transfer everything on that username to your new username. But you're not going to be Instagram anymore on Reddit because Instagram wants their name back. And the person's outraged. And I'm thinking, you were lucky to have that name for 10 years. I remember a few years ago on Facebook, there was a person who had their username as Chase, because that was their first name, Chase, C-H-A-S-E, Chase. And Facebook said, we're taking back your username. And he said, why? And they said, we don't have to explain anything to you, but we're taking it back. So either switch it over or lose it forever. And the person was very upset, lost the username. And then a couple of weeks later, Chase Bank is on Facebook using the username Chase. Now that to me is a little more insidious than Instagram, because Instagram is not somebody's name. Chase happens to be a fairly common first name for boys of a certain age, men of a certain age, people of a certain age. That was a little reeky to me, because the username was not Chase Manhattan. It was just Chase. But big business speaks. Chase says, okay, we'll advertise on Facebook, but we want the name. More about censorship when we return after a brief moment. Hey, we're back. I'm David Boles. Superman posture. And this is Boles TV. BOLES .television. BOLES .T&V. Video on demand. Some call it VOD. I've never really understood that, though. VOD. BOLES.LIVE. Boles.live. That's our YouTube channel, if you want to watch the live stream without the chat. So we've been talking about censorship lately, and what it means, and how things all relate to each other. And there are some Americans who say, look, I don't like censorship. Just put things out and let me decide what I want to do. And censorship is usually reserved as the domain of government. The government censors you. Free speech to the government. And so in a recent letter to the editor, which is a very interesting way to do it, a person wrote in to the Courier Herald and said censorship on any level is anti-American. And finished with this very interesting thought. During the pandemic, we've seen an unprecedented and alarming level of citizen willingness to voluntarily surrender personal liberty in exchange for the illusion of safety. We were betrayed. Lesson learned. Now we will not exchange our liberty for the information, common good, as you suggest. That would be the road to perdition. It seems those who feel a loss of power, as the author puts it, are in reality the gods of digital information. They're acolytes and apologists who are scurrying for dark corners at the prospect of freedom of speech on the new platforms of expression. Now, is this person criticizing the Dr. Fauci's of the world, or is this person criticizing the anti-vaxxers of the world? Well, it doesn't really matter, because this person's making an interesting point that cuts both ways. It can come from both thoughts, that Dr. Fauci wants you to wear a mask and stay at home, and the anti-vaxxers want you to take off your mask and infect all the people. So where is the free speech? Who's being silenced, and why? And is there a middle ground? Going to the Voice of America. We are not going to censor ourselves, say El Salvador journalists. What? It took just a few days for El Salvador's new law banning messages about gangs to impact the media. 3 days after the country's Congress passed the measure, a member of the ruling party announced on Twitter that he planned to file a complaint against Gabriela Caceres and Oscar Martinez, who work for El Faro. It's a news magazine. The journalist reported on the release last year of a convicted leader of the MS-13 gang who was set free despite an ongoing case against him. Passed in early April, the new law, the president's effort to combat gang violence after a violent weekend left 87 people dead, bars reproducing or transmitting messages or statements from said criminal groups that could generate anxiety and panic. Those who violated face a hefty sentence of up to 15 years. Well, how do you report on the news if you can't report on the news? This is what Trump wants in Trump America in 2024. The news media becomes state media. Only what he says is broadcast. Only what he says goes. And if you go against him, well, you just happen to be a little violation. And we're going to have to teach you a lesson. We're going to have to put you in jail for a little while until you shape up. You might get out, you might not. It all depends on how well you perform. Perform what we tell you to do. The law seeks to combat criminal acts that are reproduced not only by the media. A general rule has been given to combat this mechanism of promotion and the defense of crime. And that's what these reporters are doing. They're defending crime by bringing it to light. Fascinating, right? And then I'm reminded of the career of Robert Mapplethorpe. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, he was a photographer. Took, some people thought, provocative images and published them. And Madonna was a good friend, and as you can see here, some domination stuff going on. People were very offended. A self-portrait wearing a fur and feathery boa. How can you be a man? What's going on? Not necessarily a lot of nudity, but some people thought at that time provocative poses. Took a lot of self-portraits. Infuriated by this, which is nothing, you could call that a yoga pose. But at the time, it was outrageous. This, outrageous, how dare you? Leather mask. Who wants to see that? And now it's all over the internet. Robert Mapplethorpe, seriously censored by those around him for being inappropriate. Let's go back to 1938. A Frida Kahlo painting. The Suicide of Dorothy Hale. Dorothy Hale was an American acting showgirl, and one of her friends wanted to remember her in a painting and hired Frida Kahlo to draw the memory of this woman. And the person who bought the painting, commissioned the painting, thought, oh my goodness, we're going to get this beautiful painting commemorating my dead friend who leapt from her window into her death. And this was the painting. Actually leaping from the building, dead on the ground. Now, is that art? Is that retribution? Is that tastelessness in 1938? Well, people were upset by it. We shouldn't show that. Well, that's inappropriate. Well, that's how she died, right? She jumped out a window. Yes, but we don't talk about it. You know, Black Lives Matter, but a dead white woman on the ground is just tasteless. Claire Ruth Luce, who was Dorothy's close friend and admirer of Frida Kahlo, also the publisher of the fashion magazine Vanity Fair, almost immediately commissioned Kahlo to paint a remembrance portrait of their deceased mutual friend with $400. Claire intended to give this portrait to Dorothy's grieving mother as a gift. She presumed Frida would paint a normal painting of Dorothy, which you could hang over the fireplace. But when the painting arrived in August 1939 unwrapped, Claire was so shocked, she almost passed away. She was seriously thinking of destroying it, but friends convinced her not to. Well, I think it's terrific. We need more friends like this. You hire an artist to have a view of something happened and something terrible that happened, and the artist draws that terrible thing, paints that terrible thing, and you're upset. Well, I thought she'd just draw her face. I didn't know she'd have her dead in a pool of blood. And any conversation about art and appropriateness goes right back to one of my early memories of outrageous artists dealing with a puritanical government and society. And this was done in 1987, right around the time I was in and around the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. This is the famous Epischrist by Andre Serrano. This is a crucifix in, I believe, a liter of urine. And Serrano said, look, this shows the suffering of Christ in a new way. And Christians did not see it that way. They saw it as disrespectful. How dare you? Who do you think you are? Calling it that. This is our Jesus Christ, our Savior, and our Lord. And you, sir, have disrespected him. And you're going to pay. And people tried to destroy him. And Andre Serrano said, I distrust anyone with a message. The best artistic intentions are usually cloaked in mysteries and contradictions. It wouldn't be interesting for me if the art were not loaded in some way. Loaded in some way. And we see the difference between 1938 and 1987 in America. Not much has changed. People still get upset, but what they don't understand, what they don't like, what they decide has insulted them and influenced them to behave in a poor and proper way. And these are all things we need to think about today as we resume living our lives in a very complex and frustrating and intimidating world. And we've talked about riddles, we've talked about censorship, we've talked about eugenics, and we've talked about unfortunate ways that people try to control each other through manipulation and legislation. And now it's that time of day where we end as we began. Red glasses to the rescue. I'm Kent. I'm Wonder Woman. I'm standing. I'm sitting. My posture is good. I'm back in the Red Glasses Club. Nobody guessed our riddle. We'll keep working on it until we get a winner. So until tomorrow, I will see you in email, david@boles.tv. You can write to Jana Marie if you have a question about ASL or deafness or disability, jana@boles.tv. You can find us online on Twitch, Boles TV, right now. You can find us on Twitter, super follows, @DavidBoles. Facebook, we are BOLES, Boles. What's the other one? Instagram. Instagram. Not our username. Our username is Boles Books. We behave. Boles TV, as we are on TikTok. Got to get some more content up there. But they don't go this way, they go this way. So it's very hard to figure out how to split the conversation. And if you're interested, you can join all the fun with our red glasses on our Discord server. There it is, ready for you when you are ready. So until tomorrow, I hope you have a wonderful nap. I hope you stay safe. Oh my goodness, Gordon's talking to me. I have to take off my glasses so I can read it. I suppose I could ask Jana if she knows anything about this horror film I saw a trailer for, involving someone who used ASL. Love the glasses. Ew! That would be a wonderful question, Gordon. I like it. And she will respond to you. So you can consider that, or you can go to the Discord server, because she has a whole new section now. So she has Jana Sweeney Official. She has Hardcore ASL. She has the live stream text. She has a fun area, which is where all this is going on. And when she has a success area. A deaf-mute character, mind you. Now, remember, we don't use the word mute. Deaf-mute is out. It's deaf and does not speak. And I had a very long conversation with one of Jana's, I believe, future students about that, and she's a speech-language pathologist. And she didn't know anything about that. I said, wow, that's interesting. That's a big culture thing. So now I return the glasses to my face so I can't see, but so that I am part of the meme. Oh, Gordon's back up to car glass on. Ah, sorry, I was going in the commentary track. There you go, see? That's why it's important. So we can figure it out. And it's so funny, whenever we're watching TV together and the closed captions are on. And the favorite thing of the bad writer in any television show or movie is to say, when you don't get a response from someone, is, "Are you deaf?" And Jenna raises her hand, and I scream, because that's like saying the secret word on the Groucho Marx show. And we hear it probably at least once every 2 days. And it's just so old and lazy writing. And you think, where does that come from? Is it funny? I don't think it's ever really been funny. Glasses back on. So until tomorrow, engage, if you will. On Discord, we're now friending people, by the way. So if you want to have a private conversation with us, just send a friend request, or we will send you a friend request. And you can chat with us there privately if you don't want to be in public. That's fine, too. We do all kinds of things. So I hope you have a wonderful nap and a good sleep. And a good waking up if you're just starting your day. And may your soul be filled with joy and understanding and forgiveness. So until tomorrow, I will see you, my friend. Take care and be well. And I have to take these off so I can figure out what to click on next.